The emergency klaxons echoed through the corridors of Nexus Prime Medical Station, their piercing wails cutting through the constant hum of life support systems. Dr. Zephyrian Scaleheart barely lifted his massive head from the holographic medical charts floating before him. At 800 years old, the ancient Draconian had seen every possible medical emergency the galaxy could throw at a station. His bronze scales, dulled with age and countless battles, reflected the blue glow of the monitors surrounding his command post. "Another human transport," muttered his assistant, a young crystalline named Vex, whose translucent body flickered with nervous energy. "Cargo vessel from the Outer Rim colonies. They're requesting immediate docking for medical emergency." Zephyrian's golden eyes remained fixed on his charts. His massive claws, each the size of a human forearm, tapped rhythmically against the metal desk. "Standard procedure, Vex. Route them to Base 7. Have the medical team prepare for standard human ailments." His voice rumbled like distant thunder, carrying the weight of centuries of experience. The crystalline hesitated, their form shifting from clear to pale yellow. "Sir, they specifically mentioned unusual symptoms." The captain sounded quite concerned. A low growl emanated from Zephyrian's throat. Humans and their constant need for drama. In his centuries of service, he had treated thousands of species from across the galaxy. Humans were among the most fragile he had encountered. Their short lifespans, delicate immune systems, and tendency toward panic made them particularly troublesome patients. They saw catastrophe in every minor ailment. "Vex, in my 8 centuries of medical practice, I have seen Cronin warriors survive plasma burns that would vaporize a small moon. I have watched ethereal beings regenerate from pure energy after complete molecular dissolution. Humans panic when their internal temperature rises by 2 degrees. Zephyrian finally looked up, his massive form dwarfing everything around him. What could possibly be unusual about human symptoms? The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing the battered cargo transport, Lucky Strike. Scorch marks covered its hull, and several sections showed hastily welded patches. Captain Maria Santos, a weathered woman in her 50s, rushed down the boarding ramp with obvious desperation in her movements. "Where's the medical team?" she called out, her voice echoing in the vast docking bay. "My crew needs help now." Nurse Elena Vasquez stepped forward from the medical team assembled near the bay entrance. At 28 years old, Elena had spent the last 3 years working aboard Nexus Prime, one of only 12 humans employed on the massive station. Her compact frame and dark hair made her appear almost childlike next to the towering alien medical staff, but her green eyes held a fierce intelligence that had earned respect from even the most skeptical non-human colleagues. "I'm Nurse Vasquez," Elena said, her scanner already in hand. "How many crew members are affected, and what are the symptoms?" Captain Santos ran her hands through her graying hair. "All 15 of my people. Started 3 days ago during our transit from Kepler Station. First it was just headaches and fatigue. Then the fever hit. But not like any fever I've seen. Their temperatures are normal on our instruments, but they're burning up inside. Some are delirious, talking about seeing lights that aren't there." Dr. Thyron, a tall, ethereal being whose gaseous form shimmed with silver light, materialized beside Elena. His voice carried a musical quality that humans found soothing. "Standard fever protocols, then. We'll have them in isolation chambers within the hour." "No," Elena said quietly, studying her scanner readings as the first crew members were brought out on anti-grav stretchers. "Look at these readings." Dr. Thyron glanced at the scanner with mild interest. "Human neural activity appears elevated, but within normal parameters for fever-induced states. Their cellular activity shows typical immune response patterns." Elena frowned, adjusting her scanner to different frequencies. Something felt wrong, but she couldn't pinpoint exactly what. The affected crew members looked normal to most scans, their vital signs stable despite their obvious distress. But her scanner was detecting something else, something subtle. Dr. Thyron, what's the station's current position relative to the Vega sector? We're approximately 47 light-years from vegan space, following standard shipping route Gamma 7. Why do you ask? Elena's scanner beeped as she adjusted it to detect specific energy patterns. Because 3 months ago, vegan scientists reported detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in this region of space. They thought it might be related to dark matter interaction with standard matter. Nurse Vasquez, came Zephyrian's booming voice over the comm system. Please escort the patients to Medical Bay 3 for standard quarantine procedures. Dr. Thyron, report to my station for duty assignment. As the medical team began moving the affected crew members, Elena continued scanning, switching between different detection modes. The readings were inconsistent with standard fever patterns. The human's brain activity showed unusual spikes in areas associated with quantum perception, something that should have been impossible for their species. Medical Bay 3 buzzed with activity as the 15 crew members were placed in individual treatment pods. The affected humans tossed restlessly, their faces flushed despite normal temperature readings. Several muttered incoherently about the singing darkness and lights behind their eyes. Elena moved from pod to pod, taking detailed readings with her scanner. Each crew member showed the same anomalous brain patterns, and her scanner was detecting trace amounts of an unknown energy signature in their bloodstream. Nurse Vasquez, Dr. Thyron's melodious voice interrupted her concentration. Dr. Scalehart has ordered standard fever reduction protocols. Please prepare the neural dampeners. Wait, Elena said, looking up from her scanner. I don't think this is a fever. Look at these quantum resonance readings. Dr. Thyron's gaseous form shifted as he examined her scanner display. I see elevated neural activity, which is consistent with fever-induced delirium. The quantum readings you're showing are within normal background levels for this sector of space. Elena shook her head. But they're not random. There's a pattern here, and it's synchronized across all 15 patients. Their brains are resonating with something. The human imagination often seeks patterns where none exist, Dr. Thyron said gently. Your species has a remarkable ability to find meaning in random data. It's both your greatest strength and your most significant weakness in scientific endeavors. Before Elena could respond, her scanner suddenly erupted with alarms. The quantum readings had spiked dramatically across all patients simultaneously. On the treatment pod's displays, the crew members' brain activity showed perfect synchronization. Dr. Thyron, you need to see this, Elena said urgently. The ethereal examined the readings more carefully, his silver form brightening with concentration. This is unusual, but not necessarily dangerous. Perhaps we should increase the neural dampener settings. No, Elena said sharply. If their brains are resonating with some kind of quantum phenomenon, dampening their neural activity could cause serious damage. We need to understand what's happening first. Dr. Thyron's form flickered with what Elena had learned to recognize as the ethereal equivalent of a frown. Nurse Vasquez, while I appreciate your concern, Dr. Scalehart has 8 centuries of medical experience. I think we should follow his prescribed treatment. Elena looked at the treatment pods, watching the crew members' synchronized movements. Something fundamental was wrong with the standard diagnosis, but she couldn't convince the medical team to listen. In the 3 years she had worked on Nexus Prime, she had learned that most alien species viewed human medical intuition as primitive emotion rather than valid observation. Dr. Thyron, what if we're wrong? What if this isn't a fever at all? Then the neural dampeners will simply have no effect, and we can pursue other treatment options, the ethereal replied logically. However, leaving fever-induced delirium untreated could result in permanent brain damage. As Dr. Thyron began preparing the neural dampener array, Elena noticed something else on her scanner. The unknown energy signature in the patient's blood was growing stronger, and it was beginning to affect the station's quantum field generators in subtle ways. "Computer, run a full diagnostic on quantum field stability in Medical Bay 3, Elena said quietly. "Quantum field fluctuation detected," the computer's calm voice announced. "Variation is within acceptable parameters but showing unusual harmonic patterns." Elena's heart raced. The patients weren't just sick. They were somehow connected to something that was affecting the station itself. But how could she convince Dr. Scalehart and the medical team that their standard procedures might be making things worse? Her scanner chimed again, and this time the reading made her blood run cold. The quantum resonance was spreading beyond the patients. Trace amounts of the same energy signature were beginning to appear in other sections of the station. "Dr. Thyron," Elena called out, trying to keep the urgency out of her voice. "I need to speak with Dr. Scalehart immediately." "He's reviewing the cases now," Dr. Thyron replied, still focused on the neural dampener settings. "He'll make his rounds in approximately 1 hour." Elena looked at her scanner readings one more time. Whatever was happening to the crew of the Lucky Strike, it wasn't going to wait an hour. And if her readings were correct, the entire station might soon be affected. She made a decision that she knew could cost her job, but her instincts told her that following protocol might cost something much more valuable than her career. Elena stepped toward the comm panel and opened a direct channel to Dr. Scalehart's command post. "Dr. Scalehart, this is Nurse Vasquez in Medical Bay 3. I need to speak with you immediately about the human patients." The response came back in a growl that made the speakers vibrate. "Nurse Vasquez, unless one of your patients is experiencing cardiac arrest, I am not available for consultation. Follow the prescribed treatment protocols." Elena closed her eyes, knowing she was about to cross a line that might end her career on Nexus Prime. "Sir, with respect, I believe the prescribed treatment could be dangerous. These patients aren't suffering from fever. They're experiencing some kind of quantum resonance phenomenon, and it's beginning to affect the station." The silence that followed seemed to stretch forever. When Dr. Scalehart's voice finally came through the speakers, it carried a tone that would have made most creatures flee in terror. "Nurse Vasquez, report to my command post immediately. Dr. Thyron, continue with the neural dampener treatment." As Elena left Medical Bay 3, she caught one last glimpse of her scanner. The quantum readings had spiked again, and for just a moment, all 15 patients opened their eyes simultaneously and looked directly at her. Their eyes glowed with a soft blue light that matched the energy signature on her scanner. The walk to Dr. Scalehart's command post felt like the longest journey of Elena's life. She knew she was about to face the wrath of one of the most respected medical authorities in the galaxy, but her scanner readings told a story that couldn't be ignored. Something unprecedented was happening aboard Nexus Prime, and the tiny human nurse might be the only one who could see it. Dr. Zephyrian Scalehart's command post occupied the central hub of Nexus Prime's medical complex, a massive chamber filled with holographic displays showing the health status of every being on the station. The ancient Draconian sat behind a curved desk that had been specially reinforced to support his enormous frame. His bronze scales seemed darker in the chamber's blue lighting, and his golden eyes held the cold fire of barely controlled anger. Elena entered the chamber, her scanner still clutched in her hand. Despite her small stature, she forced herself to walk steadily across the polished floor, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. She had faced down hostile aliens and emergency situations before, but nothing had prepared her for the waves of ancient authority radiating from the creature before her. "Nurse Vasquez," Zephyrian's voice rumbled through the chamber like an approaching storm. "In 800 years of medical practice, I have encountered exactly 3 types of beings who question established protocols without proper authority: fools, lunatics, and those who believe their brief existence grants them wisdom that surpasses centuries of accumulated knowledge. Elena stopped at the prescribed distance from his desk, knowing that approaching too close would be considered a challenge by draconian standards. Dr. Scalehart, I understand your concerns about protocol, but the readings I've obtained suggest silence. The word crashed through the chamber with enough force to make Elena's teeth ache. You have been aboard this station for 3 of your brief years. I have been practicing medicine since before your species achieved interstellar flight. What could you possibly observe that I have not already considered? Elena held up her scanner, its screen still displaying the quantum resonance patterns. These readings show synchronized brain activity across all patients, coupled with unknown energy signatures that are affecting the station's quantum field generators. This isn't a fever, sir. It's something unprecedented. Zephyrian's massive head tilted slightly, a gesture that in humans might have indicated curiosity, but in draconians suggested the consideration of whether something was worth incinerating. Your species has a well-documented tendency toward pattern recognition in random data. What you interpret as unprecedented is likely nothing more than standard neural activity filtered through primitive human perception. Then explain this, Elena said, activating her scanner's projection mode. A 3-dimensional hologram appeared between them, showing the overlapping brain patterns of all 15 patients. Every one of these humans is exhibiting identical neural oscillations at exactly 783 Hz. That frequency matches the natural resonance of quantum field fluctuations in this sector of space. The ancient dragon's eyes narrowed as he examined the projection. For a moment, his expression shifted from dismissive anger to something resembling interest. Computer, confirm the accuracy of Nurse Vasquez's readings. Readings confirmed, the station's AI responded. Neural oscillation patterns show 99.7% synchronization across all human patients. Quantum field fluctuations in Medical Bay 3 have increased by 12% since patient arrival. Elena pressed her advantage. Dr. Scalehart, I believe these humans have somehow become attuned to a quantum phenomenon that we don't understand yet. The neural dampeners could disrupt whatever natural process is occurring and cause permanent damage. Zephyrian rose from his chair, his full height making Elena feel like an insect before a mountain. His claws scraped against the metal floor as he moved around his desk. Even if your readings are accurate, human neural patterns are among the most primitive in known space. Your brains evolved for basic survival functions, not complex quantum interactions. The idea that humans could detect phenomena that escape draconian, ethereal, and crystalline perception is absurd. But what if that's exactly why they can detect it? Elena said, her voice growing stronger despite the intimidating presence looming over her. Every advanced species on this station has neural dampening fields, quantum stabilizers, and enhanced cognitive processing. Maybe those enhancements are actually preventing you from perceiving certain quantum frequencies. The dragon's laugh was like the sound of metal being shredded. You suggest that primitive neural structure is somehow superior to 8 centuries of draconian evolution? I'm suggesting that different doesn't always mean inferior, Elena replied. Human brains might be simpler, but they're also more adaptable. We don't have built-in filters that screen out irrelevant quantum noise. Before Zephyrian could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the command post. Emergency lights bathed the chamber in red as the station's AI announced, "Alert, quantum field instability detected in sections 7 through 12. All personnel report to emergency stations." Elena's scanner erupted with readings as quantum fluctuations spiked across multiple areas of the station. Dr. Scalehart, it's spreading. Whatever's affecting the human patients is now affecting the entire station. Zephyrian moved to his command console with surprising speed for such a massive creature. Holographic displays showed quantum field irregularities spreading through Nexus Prime like ripples in a pond. Computer, identify the source of the quantum instability. Source appears to be Medical Bay 3. Quantum resonance patterns are emanating from human patient treatment area. Elena felt a cold chill run down her spine. Dr. Thyron was preparing neural dampeners when I left. If he's already started the treatment... Computer, connect me to Medical Bay 3 immediately. Dr. Thyron's melodious voice came through the speakers, but it carried an undertone of confusion that Elena had never heard before. Dr. Scalehart, we're experiencing unusual readings here. The neural dampeners appear to be amplifying the patient's brain activity rather than suppressing it. Shut down the dampeners immediately, Zephyrian commanded. I've already tried, sir. The dampener array is not responding to standard shutdown procedures. The patient's neural patterns seem to be controlling the equipment somehow. Elena grabbed Zephyrian's massive arm, a gesture that would normally result in immediate incineration. Dr. Scalehart, we have to get down there. If the dampeners are amplifying their quantum resonance, it could cascade through the entire station's systems. The ancient dragon stared at her small hand on his bronze scales, his expression unreadable. Computer, analyze the progression of quantum field instability. Project timeline for critical system failure. Based on current rate of expansion, critical quantum field collapse will occur in approximately 43 minutes. Station life support systems will fail in 37 minutes. Elena's scanner showed the energy signatures growing stronger by the minute. The humans aren't just resonating with local quantum fields anymore, they're somehow amplifying them. But I don't think it's random. Look at the pattern. She projected her scanner readings again, showing the quantum fluctuations spreading through the station. It's not chaotic expansion. There's a structure to it, like the humans are trying to establish some kind of connection or communication. Zephyrian studied the projection with 8 centuries of accumulated knowledge, but for the first time in his long life, the patterns before him made no sense according to any medical or scientific principles he knew. Connection with what? I don't know, Elena admitted. But I think I know how to find out. The humans' brain patterns are synchronized, which means they're sharing some kind of experience. If I can interface directly with one of their neural patterns... Absolutely not, Zephyrian said immediately. Direct neural interface with unknown quantum phenomena could kill you instantly. Elena looked at her scanner readings one more time. The quantum instability was approaching critical levels. And 37 minutes wasn't enough time to evacuate a station with over 10,000 inhabitants. Doctor, with respect, everyone on this station is going to die in 37 minutes unless we figure out what's happening. At least this way, we might learn something useful. The ancient dragon stared down at the small human before him. In 8 centuries, he had encountered countless species, studied thousands of medical conditions, and witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. But he had never encountered a being willing to risk everything based on intuition and primitive pattern recognition. Computer, prepare Medical Bay 3 for emergency neural interface procedures, Zephyrian commanded, and get me a complete technical readout on human neural compatibility with our interface systems. As they rushed toward the medical bay, Elena's scanner continued to track the spreading quantum instability. The readings were unlike anything in medical literature, but her instincts told her that the human patients weren't trying to destroy the station. They were trying to communicate something, and the neural dampeners had turned their gentle whisper into a dangerous shout. Dr. Scalehart, Elena said as they entered the transit tube to Medical Bay 3. What if this isn't a medical emergency at all? What if it's first contact? The ancient dragon's golden eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made Elena feel like her soul was being examined. Explain. The quantum resonance patterns, the synchronized brain activity, the fact that it's only affecting humans. What if something is trying to communicate with us, something that exists in quantum space rather than normal matter? And you believe the neural dampeners disrupted this attempted communication? Elena nodded, turning it from a gentle contact into an uncontrolled quantum cascade. The humans might be trying to establish a stable connection, but our medical intervention is causing interference. The transit tube doors opened to reveal Medical Bay 3 in chaos. The neural dampener array sparked and hummed with uncontrolled energy, while all 15 human patients floated several inches above their treatment pods, their bodies surrounded by the same blue glow that Elena had detected on her scanner. Their eyes were open, staring at something none of the alien medical staff could see. Doctor. Thyron's gaseous form flickered frantically as he tried to shut down malfunctioning equipment. Dr. Scalehart, the dampener array has become completely autonomous. It's drawing power directly from the station's main reactor, and I cannot regain control. Elena approached the nearest floating patient, a young cargo handler named Chen. His lips moved silently, forming words in a language she didn't recognize. But as she activated her scanner's audio sensors, she realized he wasn't speaking in an alien language. He was speaking in mathematical equations. Computer, analyze the vocal patterns of patient Chen. Convert mathematical expressions to standard notation. The station's AI processed the data for several seconds before responding. Patient is vocalizing advanced quantum field equations. Mathematical concepts appear to describe stable quantum entanglement across vast distances. Elena's heart raced as understanding began to dawn. Dr. Scalehart, I don't think the humans are sick. I think they've become receivers for some kind of quantum transmission, and whoever is sending it is trying to teach us something about quantum field manipulation. Zephyrian moved closer to examine the floating humans, his ancient eyes studying patterns that challenged everything he thought he knew about medicine and physics. But why humans? Why not more advanced species? Because advanced species filter out primitive quantum noise, Elena said, remembering her earlier argument. Humans don't have sophisticated enough brains to automatically screen out what seems irrelevant. We're the only species simple enough to receive the full signal. As if responding to her words, all 15 patients suddenly turned their glowing blue eyes toward Elena. When they spoke, their voices harmonized into a single clear message that sent chills through everyone in the medical bay. Help us stabilize the connection before your quantum fields collapse. Time is running short. The harmonized voice of 15 humans, speaking in perfect unison, sent silence through Medical Bay 3. Dr. Thyron's gaseous form stopped flickering, while the other alien medical staff stood frozen in shock. Elena felt goosebumps rise on her arms as she realized that something vast and intelligent was speaking through the crew of the Lucky Strike. "Who are you?" Elena asked, stepping closer to the floating humans. The patients turned their glowing blue eyes toward her in perfect synchronization. "We are the Quantum Collective, beings who exist in the spaces between matter and energy. We have been trying to establish contact with your galaxy for what you would measure as 3,000 years. Dr. Zephyrian moved his massive frame closer, his ancient eyes studying the impossible scene before him. Why have you chosen humans as your conduits? There are dozens of more advanced species with superior neural architecture." The floating humans smiled simultaneously, an expression that would have been endearing on any individual face, but became otherworldly when reflected across 15 beings at once. Advanced species have evolved beyond the ability to perceive our realm. Their neural patterns are too structured, too filtered. They automatically screen out quantum fluctuations as irrelevant noise. Elena felt pieces clicking together in her mind. But human brains are chaotic enough to pick up your signals. Your neural patterns exist in a state of controlled chaos that matches the quantum fluctuations we use for communication. You are the only species we have encountered that can serve as a stable bridge between quantum space and normal matter. Dr. Thyron's melodious voice carried a note of confusion. But the neural dampeners were designed to help stabilize their patterns. Why did they cause this cascade effect? The floating humans turned toward the ethereal, their expressions becoming sad. Your dampening technology forces neural patterns into rigid mathematical structures. When applied to humans receiving our transmissions, it creates quantum interference. What should be gentle communication becomes chaotic amplification. Elena looked at her scanner, watching the quantum field readings climb toward critical levels. How do we fix this? The station's quantum fields are destabilizing, and we have less than 30 minutes before life support fails. The solution requires precise calibration that only a human neural pattern can achieve, the collective responded through their human conduits. One of your kind must join our network voluntarily and help us establish a stable connection that will not damage your technology. Absolutely not, Zephyrian rumbled, moving protectively closer to Elena. Direct interface with unknown quantum entities could destroy her mind permanently. Elena studied her scanner readings, watching the patterns that had first caught her attention hours ago. The mathematical relationships were complex but not random. There was a beauty to the quantum fluctuations that reminded her of music or poetry written in the language of physics itself. What happens if we don't stabilize the connection? She asked. The floating human's expressions grew grave. The quantum cascade will continue until it reaches critical resonance with your space station's core reactor. The resulting explosion will create a quantum rift that could destabilize matter across several light years. Dr. Thyron's form brightened with alarm. That would destroy multiple star systems. The death toll would be measured in trillions, the collective confirmed. We did not intend this consequence. We merely sought to establish peaceful communication with your species. Elena looked around the medical bay at the alien staff who had spent years treating her as a curious but ultimately limited creature. Her scanner showed exactly 27 minutes remaining before critical cascade failure. She had spent 3 years proving herself capable despite being human, and now the survival of trillions might depend on the very human traits that others dismissed as primitive. "What do I need to do?" she asked quietly. "Elena, no," Zephyrian said, his massive claws scraping against the floor. "I have spent 8 centuries learning to preserve life. I will not allow you to sacrifice yourself based on the claims of unknown entities." Elena turned to face the ancient dragon, seeing something in his golden eyes that she had never noticed before. Genuine concern. "Dr. Scalehart, in 3 years of working here, you've treated me as a competent but ultimately limited being. Now you're worried about my safety?" Zephyrian's bronze scales seemed to dim as he considered her words. "Perhaps I have been too quick to dismiss human capabilities. Your observations today have proven more accurate than my centuries of accumulated knowledge." "Then trust me now," Elena said, placing her hand on his massive forearm. "Trust that human intuition that you've always dismissed as primitive emotion." The floating humans began speaking in unison again, their voices urgent. "Time is running short. The quantum cascade is approaching irreversible levels." Elena activated her scanner one final time, studying the patterns that had started this entire crisis. The quantum fluctuations weren't chaotic at all. They were incredibly complex, but they followed rules that her human brain seemed uniquely equipped to understand. "Computer, prepare a neural interface headset calibrated for human brain patterns," she commanded. "Elena," Dr. Thyron protested, "direct neural interface with quantum entities violates every safety protocol we have established." "All our protocols were designed for known phenomena," Elena replied, moving toward the interface station. "Sometimes you have to write new rules." As the neural interface headset descended toward her head, Elena felt a moment of terror. She was about to link her mind with beings that existed in quantum space, entities that could easily destroy her consciousness without even intending harm. But her scanner readings told her that they were running out of options, and her human intuition suggested that the quantum collective was genuinely trying to help. "Dr. Scalehart," she said as the headset made contact with her temples, If something goes wrong, remember that humans aren't always limited by our simplicity. Sometimes our chaos is exactly what the galaxy needs. The interface activated, and Elena's consciousness exploded into dimensions she had never imagined possible. She found herself floating in a space between spaces, where matter and energy danced in patterns of incredible beauty. Beings of pure thought surrounded her, their forms shifting through geometric configurations that her human brain translated into visual metaphors. "Welcome, Elena Vasquez," the collective spoke directly into her mind. "Your neural patterns are even more remarkable than we anticipated." Elena felt her consciousness expanding as she began to understand the quantum realm from their perspective. "Why did you choose now to make contact? You've been trying for 3,000 years. Your species is approaching technological developments that will allow you to manipulate quantum space directly. Without proper understanding, you could accidentally tear holes in reality itself. We wish to share knowledge that will help you avoid such catastrophes." Elena sensed the vast intelligence surrounding her, beings who had transcended physical existence to become living mathematics. But why humans specifically? Why not dragons or ethereals? Advanced species think in straight lines following logical progressions from cause to effect. Quantum space requires thinking that can exist in multiple states simultaneously. Human consciousness naturally operates in controlled chaos, making intuitive leaps that bypass linear logic. You are the perfect translators between our realm and yours. Elena began to understand the elegant solution that had been hidden in her scanner readings all along. The quantum cascade isn't random amplification. It's your attempt to create a stable communication channel. But our medical technology interpreted it as malfunction and tried to correct it. Precisely. The neural dampeners forced structured patterns onto chaotic quantum communication, creating dangerous interference. But you can help us establish a stable connection that will not threaten your technology. Elena felt the knowledge flowing into her mind, not overwhelming data that would burn out her neural pathways, but elegant relationships that her human brain could intuitively grasp. She understood how to modulate the quantum resonance to match the station's systems, creating harmony instead of destructive interference. "I can see it," she said, both to the collective and to the medical staff watching her physical form. The frequency modulation needed to stabilize the connection. "Computer, adjust quantum field generators to resonance pattern Elena 773. "Pattern not recognized," the computer responded. "Upload from neural interface," Elena commanded, feeling the mathematical relationships flow from her mind into the station's systems. The quantum cascade immediately began to stabilize as Elena's human brain processed the collective's knowledge into formats that the station's computers could understand. The floating patients gently settled back onto their treatment pods, their blue glow fading to a soft warmth around their eyes. "Quantum field instability neutralized," the computer announced. "All systems returning to normal parameters." Elena felt the neural interface powering down, but the connection with the collective remained as a gentle presence in the back of her mind. As she removed the headset, she found Dr. Zephyrian studying her with an expression of amazement. "In 8 centuries, the ancient dragon said slowly, "I have never seen anything like that." A human mind processing quantum mathematical relationships that should be impossible for your species to comprehend. "Maybe that's the point," Elena said, her legs shaky from the neural interface experience. "We don't comprehend it the way you would. We just feel our way through the patterns." The 15 human patients were sitting up on their treatment pods, looking around with clear, normal eyes. The cargo handler named Chen looked at Elena with gratitude. "Nurse, I don't know what happened, but I feel like I've been dreaming the most beautiful mathematics I've ever seen." Dr. Thyron's gaseous form shimmered with what Elena recognized as profound respect. The quantum signatures have stabilized at levels that will allow ongoing communication without threatening station systems. You have achieved stable first contact with a completely non-physical species. Elena felt the collective's presence in her mind, like a warm whisper. This is only the beginning, Elena Vasquez. Your species stands at the threshold of quantum mastery. We will be here to guide you, speaking through human translators who can bridge the gap between chaos and mathematics. Dr. Zephyrian moved closer, his massive form no longer seeming intimidating but protective. Nurse Vasquez, I owe you an apology. I have spent centuries believing that experience and advancement were the highest forms of wisdom. Today you have shown me that sometimes fresh perspective and intuitive understanding can see solutions that centuries of knowledge cannot. Elena smiled, feeling the weight of exhaustion from the neural interface, but also a sense of accomplishment that went beyond anything she had experienced before. Dr. Scalehart, maybe the galaxy needs both kinds of wisdom. Your experience to provide stability and human chaos to see new possibilities. Computer, prepare a complete report on today's events for transmission to the Galactic Medical Council, Zephyrian commanded. Include full documentation of human neural capabilities for quantum interface procedures. Preparing report, the computer confirmed. Classification level? Zephyrian looked at Elena with something approaching admiration. Priority Alpha. The galaxy needs to know that humanity possesses unique capabilities that could be crucial for future quantum research and first contact protocols. As Medical Bay 3 returned to normal operations, Elena realized that everything had changed. The tiny spot that Dr. Zephyrian had dismissed as insignificant human perception had turned out to be first contact with beings from quantum space. And the primitive human brain that he had considered inferior had proven to be the only neural architecture capable of bridging two completely different forms of existence. The collective's presence whispered in her mind, "Tell your people, Elena Vasquez, that the universe has many voices speaking in many languages. Sometimes the most important messages can only be heard by those who others consider the least qualified to listen." Elena looked around at the alien medical staff, who were now studying her with new respect. And she realized that humanity's greatest strength had never been their advanced technology or superior intelligence. It was their ability to find meaning in chaos, to make intuitive leaps that bypassed logic, and to hear music in mathematical equations that others dismissed as noise. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again.